I'm Andre Calilhanna. I am the blog manager for Disc Makers. I've been with Disc Makers for 20-something, 5 years now, and I think that's probably the same time that Ariel was getting involved with cyber PR. It was Ariel Publicity, as I recall back then. So, good friend Ariel is here with us, and cyber PR just hit 25 years, I see.
Yes, it did.
Fantastic. Congratulations. And congratulations on the new book. We've got a new book out coming in June, The Ultimate Guide to Music Publicity. So, it's funny, I started reading your book, and the first question I had seemed to be the first question you had when you entered into this field, which is, what is PR?
PR has changed. The definition has changed pretty dramatically in the 25 years since I dove in. PR really used to mean the relationship between a person and all of the journalists. So a publicist was the access point. But now PR has become so many other things because we have social media and this sort of necessity of like a gatekeeper who used to be sort of in charge of your PR is now, yes, publicists are still very valuable and you could use them in your career, but the truth is PR is now kind of any communication that goes from you out into the world, because anything now can result in tastemaker PR. If you think about it, if someone shares music that you created on their Instagram story, that's PR in a way. So PR is now, I like to define it as anything that is sort of communication from you going out into the world that's public facing.
So that's interesting because, I always considered there was a distinct difference between public relations, PR, and marketing. Are you saying that that's kind of blending a little bit now then? Or is there like less of a distinction?
I think there's a little bit less of a distinction, but I think if you're going to talk about PR, meaning someone who is a tastemaker, a blogger, a playlister, a podcaster, a journalist, newspaper, magazine, television, radio, all of that. The thing that's fascinating about PR in today's world is you can pretty much get to all of those people on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn. And that, of course, 25 years ago was not the case because the internet didn't exist.
Right. Because one of the first things you ever wrote, or at least one of the first things we ever posted on the Disc Makers blog was from you, was about writing and creating the perfect pitch, elevator pitch. And, so for all the things that have changed, and this was something that sort of kept resonating in my mind, for all the things that have changed over the last 25 years, that to me seems like one of the things that probably hasn't changed is the need for that. I wondered if you thought the same and how important you thought those elevator pitches are.
They're so important. And it's really interesting because artists that have nailed a really strong, you could call it an elevator pitch, a 15-second pitch, those are the ones that can successfully articulate in a way that is so crucial and important. So if you're at a party, if you're meeting a booking agent, if you're anywhere and someone says, so what does your band sound like? Or what does your music sound like? If you have a short, succinct answer that gives the person that you're talking to a very clear sense of what your music sounds like, you are leaps and bounds ahead of the artist that's like, well, it's kind of rocky, poppy, jazzy, salsa, you can't confuse people with too many genres or too many comparisons. People need something that is concise and succinct, and it will also help you define your brand once you get a 15-second pitch. And there's a strange sort of, it's a phenomenon that's going on now in the business, and it's in social media too, where, choose 3 kind of fun words and an emoji like that you can't do 3 fun words and an emoji when you're talking to someone.
Right.
So there is a distinction between something cool that you might post on your Instagram versus how you define yourself in a 15-second pitch. And I find it kind of annoying, like when I'm researching bands or a band wants to work with us, or I share a lot of content on different music blogs. If you find like 4 or 5 witty words that don't describe what the music sounds like, or like what musical bucket to even put you in,
Right.
it's going to be really hard for members of the media to understand.
Ideally, what does a band have to have together when they come to you for them to have success in whatever publicity campaign or whatever they might be hiring you to do?
The first thing is you have to have a story. And 4 dudes meeting in college and jamming together and then forming a band, that's not really a story. I mean, it is a story, but it's not something that's memorable. So the first thing you want to really think through is, what is your hook? And a hook doesn't have to be a huge dramatic thing. Like if you watch The Voice or American Idol, the hook is often something that makes you sit at home on your couch crying, like they survived cancer, there was a divorce, their house burned down in a fire, now they sing. You don't have to go that direction, although that tends to be a sensationalized way of creating a hook. A hook just has to be something that people walk away from you remembering. So you definitely want to have a bio with that moment, that hook. You want to obviously have great music that is well thought out, well produced, mixed, mastered. You want to have a release schedule of some sort, and you can work with your publicist or anyone that you sign up with to figure out the best times to release your music. Don't always come to someone in the industry with a preset schedule, because that might not work with what they're doing.
Right.
You, of course, also want to have really good visuals, so photos and multiple photos, because in today's social media world, just the same press shot over and over is going to be tired very fast.
Mm-hmm.
And then you obviously want to have a brand that's shored up. So aside from the moment, the hook, and the signature story, what is your brand portraying online on your socials? Are you funny? Are you witty? Are you political? Are you direct? Are you mysterious? Whatever it is, all of that should carry across your social channels and should be made very clear to anyone that's trying to understand who you are.
When a band comes to you, or an artist, or whatever, whoever it might be, I'm assuming that, typically a PR campaign is going to be promoting something specific, a tour, a single, an album. But another question then, I guess, I'm assuming that's a yes. You agree with that? Like, I'm just not coming to you because I got a band and I want people to know about me. I have to have something I want to be promoting, correct?
Correct. And especially now in a singles-based world, you want to have probably some singles coming out and not just here's 12 tracks dropping, because
Right.
That's really hard to publicize.
Well, so that gets to what I was going to get to, which, so do you recommend having a conversation with you beforehand in terms of trying to set up what the timing might be, so that if let's say I have 12 songs and I've got an album's worth of material, so coming to you to say, hey, how do I make the most of this with a release schedule where we're dropping maybe a single every 3 or 4 weeks, for the first 3 or 4 singles. I guess I'm trying to figure out, like, how much should I have planned in advance for that? And how much do I rely on you to basically say, here's how you're going to get the most mileage out of this?
That is a really hard question to answer. And the reason why is there's no hard and set rule for what to do.
Right.
So yes, you absolutely do want to be consulting with your publicist or anyone that you're hiring. You don't want to come to them saying, here's what we're doing, because you're coming to them for their expertise.
Right.
But yes, one strategy certainly can be you have 12 tracks and you want to release one, like you said, every 3 to 4 weeks. And that is obviously a year-long endeavor. You probably won't be hiring a publicist for a year because that could get expensive. So you might want to work with them and say, can you help me decide, which of the 3 tracks, if you're hiring someone for 3 months, for example, do you think are the strongest and would work the best with your contacts? And actually let the publicist give you the reasons why they think those tracks are the best and what is their plan for those tracks. So that's one way that you could certainly do it. And then after you get their feedback, you can say, okay, I'm going to release 4 tracks. Then the PR will start. We'll do 3 tracks, and then I'll do 3 more tracks after, 4 more tracks after. So that could be one way to go. But I think, yes, it is really important to be malleable. The other thing I've noticed is sometimes you can release a track with it in your mind being that you're going to have one out every 3 or 4 weeks, and a track just bricks. So to have this sort of hard and fast set rule of every 4 weeks I'm going to do something. What if something is a smashing success and it's like blowing up on Spotify and it's getting picked up on media? You don't want to truncate that marketing time if you can get a few more weeks out of it. So
Right.
Being flexible with your PR is smart.
Awesome. Well, Ariel, thanks so much for taking the time. This is Ariel Hyatt from Cyber PR, and it's cyberprmusic.com. Is that correct? Yes.
That
So
is
go
correct.
check out cyberprmusic.com, and of course, get the book. And we'll have our guide coming out soon too. So The Ultimate Guide to Music Publicity is the name of the book. Ariel, it's been a pleasure. It's been too long since I've last seen you. So hopefully next time it will be in person somewhere.
Yes, at a show. Thanks
At a
for having me.
show. All right, you got it. Take care.